Your worship is a weapon. Your worship is a weapon. When you begin to open your mouth and praise over a situation or a circumstance, things begin to change. No, you may not be able to see in that very moment what's happening, but I can assure you that things begin to change. Our invitation to the things of the Spirit over a situation in our lives is oftentimes activated by our choice to give the Lord our worship. We worship in a few ways. We worship primarily, especially in a trying situation, by faith. Hebrews 11:1, faith is the confidence that what we hope for will actually happen. It gives us assurance about the things that we cannot see. 1 Timothy 6:12, fight the good fight of faith, take hold of the eternal life to which you were called when you made your good confessions in the presence of many witnesses. Habakkuk 3:17, even though the fig trees have no blossoms and there are no grapes, even though the olive crop fails and the fields lie empty and barren, even though the flocks die in the fields and the cattle barns are empty, yet I will rejoice in the Lord. I will be joyful in the God of my salvation. You see, praise and worship is a choice, especially in the midst of a trying situation. Your praise and your worship is oftentimes your act of sacrifice and surrender. Your worship is a weapon to use in spite of your feelings. Because of this, sometimes our praise is a sacrifice because we don't feel like doing it. It will cost us our time and our energy. Hebrews 13:15, through Jesus, therefore, let us continually offer to God a sacrifice of praise, the fruit of lips that openly profess His name. Praise and worship invites God into your situation. God inhabits the praises of His people. We invite the physical, tangible presence of the Lord in when we praise. Psalms 22:3, but you are holy, you who inhabit the praises of Israel. 2 Chronicles 5:13-14, the trumpeters and the singers performed together in unison to praise and to give thanks to the Lord. Accompanied by trumpets, cymbals, and other instruments, they raised their voices and praised the Lord with these words, He is good, He is faithful, and His love endures forever. At that moment, a thick cloud filled the temple of the Lord. The priests could not continue their service because of the cloud, for the glorious presence of the Lord filled the temple of God. Your praise and your worship invites God into your situation. Your praise and your worship acknowledges that God is actually greater. Our worship puts the focus on God. It enables us to see from God's victorious point of view and reflects on His character and how He is bigger than anything we might be facing. This shifts our perspective to a higher vantage point where we are able to see where our help really comes from. Additionally, praising and worshiping in the midst of a fight or a battle puts more faith in God's power and His love for us, more than our problem. Psalms 121, I will lift my eyes to the hills. From where does my help come from? My help comes from the Lord. Praising and worshiping in the midst of a fight or a battle puts more faith in God's power, potential, and promises than in our problems. Your worship, your praise is a weapon. Your praise and your worship causes the enemy to flee. When we praise, we are submitting ourselves to God and His power, and we're resisting the devil. This in turn causes him to run away. The devil hates our worship. In fact, I've heard it said that Satan and his demons hate praise and worship so much that they can't even stand to be in the presence of it. That's why it's an effective method to drive him out. Submit yourselves, therefore, then to God. Resist the devil, and he will flee from you. James 4. 1 Samuel 16. And whenever the tormenting spirit from God troubled Saul, David would play the harp. Then Saul would feel better and the tormenting spirit would go away. Your worship, your praise causes the enemy to flee. Probably one of the most well-known examples of that, praise and worship as a weapon, is the story of King Jehoshaphat in Judea. In 2 Chronicles 20, when he was under attack from 3 different armies, Jehoshaphat was terrified and begged God for guidance. Jehaziel then gave King Jehoshaphat and the people of Judah a message from God that told them not to be afraid and that the battle is not yours, but it's the Lord's. This is what he says in 1 Chronicles 20, verse 17. You will not need to fight. Take your positions, stand, and watch the Lord's victory. For he is with you, O people of Judea and Jerusalem. Do not be afraid or discouraged. Go out against them tomorrow, for the Lord is with you. Jehoshaphat sent out people ahead of the army to sing praises to God. As soon as the praise and the worship started, the Lord caused the 3 attacking armies to start fighting against each other, defeating themselves as a result. Your praise and their worship was the only weapon that King Jehoshaphat and the people of Judah had to use. Our worship and our praise oftentimes feel so misplaced in a tough situation, but it's actually the first thing that we ought to turn to. Faced with bad news or uncertainty or anxiety or fear, what would it look like if we, instead of going to the normal cycles of how we deal with those things, what would it look like if we changed that up and said, Lord, I thank you that this situation doesn't feel like I'm going to be able to get through, but I thank you that you're the God who makes a way. What would it look like if we chose an alternative perspective of worship? Lord, I thank you that you are making all things turn for my good. Lord, I thank you that you're protecting and you're providing for me even when I don't see it. I really believe that our worship, that our praise is a weapon. And when we use it as such, things begin to change.